This is the word of Darkseid.
Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Vincent Green.
I'm your host, John Tilly.
This is Dark Side of the Moon, and this week we are talking about Colossal from our Kaiju fucking series, Kaijuly series that we're running all month. And this one is a little bit different.
It's a different flavor. It's a very different flavor.
Yeah. Well, so no, had you ever seen Colossal before?
No, it was one of those. I'll see it when I see it. I'll get around to it, and it just never kind of happened. I was planning on seeing it for a while, and then I don't know, it just got lost into the shuffle somewhere. And there was not the film I thought it was going to be. Actually, not at all.
Yeah, I actually caught this when it came out because I seen the trailer for it, and I love Anne Hathaway, and I was just like, fuck, this looks weird and interesting, and I just loved it. It looked like something that was straight out of Japanese cinema, or Korean cinema. It just had that like all the nods to the old kaiju movies of yesteryear and all that kind of shit, but it was such a weird, odd, dark, tongue-in-cheek kind of twist to it.
That's the thing. The trailer would have you believe that this is and it does have like some humor, quite a lot of humor at times. But like at its heart, it's a very dark story.
Oh, incredibly dark.
Like incredible amounts of deaths, and kind of like there's that the helicopter hitting her head. I remember that from the trailer. She was like, "Oh, what was that? Is everything okay?" And clearly at least 4 people just died. So I knew, but I thought it was going to be like that tongue in cheek, a silly. Because films with lots of deaths can still be silly, but by the end of it, it's a smarter man than me would be able to break down, because it's full of allegories, it's full of metaphors, it's just chock full of them.
No, I think as well, it's just kind of like it's all about as well taking personal responsibility for certain things, and I think that was the major problem with the two of them and their personalities, wasn't it? That they never really took responsibility for their own actions or their own failings or for the people they hurt. And it seemed like they were very separate from the ramifications from their actions. But and in this sense, they were incredibly separate from the ramifications from their actions, because they're like, these creatures are their avatars, and even though they're just walking around the park, they're actually killing thousands of people. But but are they really though? Because technically, it's just their avatars doing it. So
Oscar at one point, Jason Sudeikis' Oscar at one point is intentionally killing people.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but he slaps her to the ground, and he has an old little dance in the sandpit,
But technically, it's his avatar that's doing it.
I know. That's the thing. It's a very strange film. It's a very strange film.
Yeah, I loved it though. Watching the creature designs, the robot.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I really, really like this movie. I like something I haven't seen before, and I'm always saying that, blue in the face saying that, but I'll stand by it. Just kind of go, wow, that's not a cookie cutter film at all.
It's so weird, isn't it?
It's taken very cliche things, like the woman with a fresh start, and the boyfriend who's she's not going, has big plans, and you're not a part of them, and all this goes back to her hometown. Boring cliche. And then it's got the kaiju attacking the city. Boring cliche. But they're because they became so symbiote kind of relationship. It was completely new territory. Then all of a sudden, I really enjoyed that.
I love the way they kind of threw their fingers up at old tropes as well. Like you mentioned, the girl going back from a bad relationship with a rich dude. All of a sudden, she meets the working Joe, and he's actually got a heart of gold, and he shows her how to appreciate life. And it's kind of like he was that at the start, but like he became incredibly bitter and turned into an absolute dickhead. And it kind of showed that after a while, it's kind of like she had this really bad taste in men or something, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That like she surrounded herself constantly with dickheads and jerks that used to actually treat her really, really poorly and pour her down and submiss her in a lot of ways. And I think when she actually stood up for herself as the creature, that was like her standing up for herself in her actual life. Because I think for a lot of her life, she was actually being put down and kind of like demeaned, in the sense that like these guys were treating her well materialistically, like he was giving her TV, giving her a couch, giving her a bed, whatever.
Furniture, like a van full of furniture.
But at the same time, he was kind of treating her as if she was his property.
Yes.
That kind of way. It kind of felt like he was trying to claim ownership over her by giving her things.
Eventually, it culminates with him, like, if you leave, Like he basically threatens her not to leave because now he has this kind of like, I was about to say colossal, but yeah, sure, why not? Colossal amount of power. You know,
where's the crickets?
where's the crickets? Yeah. But yeah, it was. And you know, there was nice pacing to it as well. I thought Jason Sudeikis did a nice job, didn't he? Kind of going down that slope. Because again, he starts out, like you said, the guy with the heart of gold, and then there's cracks in the veneer, like where he kind of has a pop at Joel for trying to kiss Gloria, and you're like, okay, the guy's got a bit of a temper, and next thing you know, he's setting off fireworks in his bar, and you know, all this kind of stuff. I thought it was handled really well in it for a film that's kind of so silly from the premise. It feels like it's silly, but it wasn't. It was a well structured film.
Yeah, no, like well, Anne Hathaway's a great actor, and so is Jason Sudeikis. So, like, I'd say from the script you could understand how smart and original it's going to be. Like, immediately, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think it was one of those things where they got there and all of a sudden they seen them, like, they saw dailies and they were surprised, you know, that kind of thing. About how funny and weird, and how, because like at the end of the day, it is completely just about like how destructive human relationships are.
Yeah.
And there's massive collateral oftentimes from destructiveness of a personal relationship. So like,
and people not understanding how lightning works.
Yeah. Man, wasn't it genius though? Like how she ends up defeating him, where she goes to Soul.
To Soul, yeah.
Man, that is so smart. It's such a smart ending. Like, so fucking.
It was. I actually really, really liked the ending. I think I might even watch the ending again before I go to bed. It was kind of one of those things I was watching. I was going, that's a smart ending.
Yeah,
it's cool, you know, because again, you're talking. She's taking responsibility for her own shit.
Yeah, in
a way that it kind of, and of course, because there's now monsters involved, the monsters end up taking responsibility for their own shit, and it's just a fucking cool film. Imagine just a person in Korea just watching all this, like the destroying everything, and then writing sorry messages on the ground, and then there's the robot's like over the harbor, and it looks like it's been crushed, and it's just like thrown into space or whatever. Like, and there'll never be any answers. Like, there'll never be any answers.
When she picks up the robot at the end, because like the creature's picking him up, and it looks like she's picking up the robot, is really fucking cool.
Yeah,
looks like she's like using telekinesis or some shit.
Yeah, like, she flat out kills Oscar. Like,
well, she kind of had to though.
Oh, she 100% had to.
He's become a little bit genocidal right there. Just a smidge.
Yeah, exactly.
A bit like on the Joe Stalin Richter scale that we normally go by. He was about 6 Stalins.
Yeah,
you know?
he was about 6 Stalins.
Yeah, but threatening to be an 8th Stalin. You know, so
building towards even more Stalins. But I don't know. It was a nice little blend of kind of different tropes put together in a way that meant something new, and you have to respect that.
Yeah,
I really, really think so.
On the outset, when you look at it, it's almost like, oh look, it's this weird goofy rom-com.
But that's the thing. That's what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, exactly. Rom-com. Yeah, man, that's the thing. Like, and it plays with all those same tropes. Oh, she left the rich dude because he's treating her like shit. Well, he kicks her out and abandons. She goes home, and like, man, that house she lands on though, like is that her parents' house or some shit?
Yeah, I think so.
Why isn't she living there full stop?
Exactly.
What's
the problem here? Why is there hitting rock bottom better off than we are right now?
Yeah. Oh man, that just annoys me so much. Like, it's like I want to go to America sometime and see if these houses are actually as affordable as they let on.
Yeah.
Because some of the fucking houses you see, like, it's like, oh yeah, I got a new job as a plumber at the school, moves into a 5-bedroom house, massive back garden, two garages.
And enough driveway for 2 cars and a garden.
Yeah.
Hey neighbor.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So is this a real thing? I think maybe in the 50s.
Maybe in the 50s, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, the Chris Rock joke. He's like talking about how he fucking worked all his life to become like a leader in his industry. He had to like go on tours, do specials, get acting roles. Finally gets the house of his dreams, and his next door neighbor's a white guy dentist. Amazing.
Do you like the fact that this film is kind of, they treated like what they didn't try and follow it up with anything? I like the fact that it was a self-contained story, and
They didn't leave it open-ended or anything.
They didn't try and leave it open-ended. They kind of said like, and I like that at the end of the film, you're like, wow, that's over. I'll never see a film quite like that again. And that's kind of cool, as opposed to somebody constantly trying to reinvent the wheel, or constantly trying to bleed. And that, I mean, that's something that these monster flicks do quite a lot, like bleed it. But here we are 6 years later, and there's not a hint of another movie, nor should there be. I think it's something of its time,
It's very personal to her. I think like the monstrosity is her destructive side in the same way the robot is his destructive side.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like it's very personal to her. Like so, like I just think once she got the destructive elements out of her life and owned up for her, like and felt responsibility for her actions, that's when the monster was able to kill Jason Sudeikis, and she left the other dude and shit like that, and she became more independent and shit. So I think maybe that's what it's all about. It's like the destructive elements of human relationships, and about taking ownership of the ramifications from your actions and shit like that, and not to separate yourself from the ramifications because you're the one that committed those actions, even if it's from a remote avatar thing, creature thing, you know, that kind of thing. I think that's what the major allegory is, that like that it's trying to pretty much talk about how people are very destructive and how relationships can be very destructive, and there's a lot of collateral damage often from these destructive relationships.
Yes, and a lot of times people kind of outside of it are the ones who end up getting hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, and that's do you know, like the dude she hooked up with, like, you know what I mean? It's like why didn't he just say like straight away, oh, I fancy her, instead of being a dickhead? You know, like he's like, you know what I mean? It's like straight away, if he's like, oh, wait, Joe dude tried to kiss her and she didn't seem to mind, so maybe I should take the opportunity to get in here. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, no, here's a couch.
It would have been a shorter film. I don't know. I do think that when I'm looking back at this film now, my feelings on it are that I think they intentionally misled it about the darkness.
Yeah.
That the film actually has. Oh man, I was expecting this to be goofy as fuck.
Yeah, it is at the start, isn't it?
It is. It's completely and totally goofy and silly. And but now looking back on it, you kind of think of like, it is. It's an allegory. Like it is. It's taking something and putting it that exists and just increasing the scale.
Yeah.
You know, turn it into a literal monster, a giant monster, the elephant in the room, taken to like an extreme degree. And but the one thing is, I don't mind, because it was actually a really good movie.
Yeah, no, it really was. That's the thing, is when you have something that's kind of weird or outlandish, and you can put that narrative on the backs of two really solid actors, they will elevate the story immediately. Because like Anne Hathaway is one of the best female actors out there right now. One of the best actors out there now, full stop. Like some of the shit she's done over the past 10, 15 years. And like she's so iconic in a lot of her roles. Like, you know, from the Princess Diaries, fucking Devil Wears Prada, fucking Batman, like the shit she's done. Didn't she do, was she in the Miserable as well? I've never seen that movie. But like just the different kind of stuff she was able to do, the breadth of it, like the width and breadth of it.
Yes.
And you have Jason Sudeikis, who's a comedy actor, but can do that kind of darkness too when he needs to, and he can play a bit of a dickhead, like we've seen We're the Millers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was like, if you put this kind of goofy, kind of strange narrative on the tops of those kind of actors, and they can make the light moments feel extra light, and then they can also elevate the dark and deep moments and give it a lot of extra levity to the situations, whereas other actors may not have done it as well. And I think that's the thing with this movie, that like at times it can seem weird or silly, but if you have Anne Hathaway doing those scenes, or you have a Jason Sudeikis, they can make something silly seem serious if it needs to seem serious, you know, that kind of thing. So
you're absolutely right, and it does. It's kind of like really capable hands.
Yeah.
And they took something that was, again, like you could say it's a flimsy premise, or it's not, yeah, and it is. Yeah. And but then you put it in their hands, and it's a story that intrigues you, because they are just such comfortable actors. They are. It's just they literally hold the film up on their shoulders. And had you put lesser actors in there, I don't think they would have been able to keep me involved. Because what we're seeing in the human side
as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they're extremely contrasting.
Yeah,
and stuff like that. Yeah, I know. Of course, two of the better actors in the game. And again, like Jason Sudeikis, even he's such a likable character. Seeing him as that much of an asshole, and just thinking how comfortable he was just. Oh
man, have you ever seen We're the Millers? He's such a dick in that movie.
Yeah, but not even quite like this one. He's a monster.
Yeah, literally.
You know what I mean? Like he's a monster, you know, and then there's the manifestation of an actual monster to back that up, but he becomes a monster and nothing short of it.
Who would you rather be in, the monster or the robot?
Maybe the robot.
Yeah,
I don't know actually. The monster is more frightening. I might just go with the monster because it's scarier.
yeah, I'd be the robot, so just to go against you, and I'm obviously horrible on the inside as well. So like
cold
yeah,
and empty.
Yeah, cold and empty, pretty much.
Yeah. I think how big were they? Did they ever
Godzilla bigger? Like they were bigger than skyscrapers. Like,
yes,
they really were. Like, you know, and like where's that over Seoul? Like, and Seoul's a massive fucking
built up, one of the most world's major hubs. Like,
yeah, gorgeous city actually.
Yeah, it really was.
It was. You know, before the World Cup came.
But I think that if I had known, I would have got to this film a lot sooner. Yeah, I really do. You know, it's a very me kind of film, and I just thought it's a funny kind of monster flick. And I'm not much of a comedy guy, not in movies. I watch an awful lot of comedy, but I don't watch an awful lot of comedy movies. So that's probably one of the reasons I didn't get back around to this. But if I'd known that there was so many spinning plates, I would have been all over it from word one. But again, like I said earlier, they intentionally misled us.
Yeah, I know. Like I didn't. When I seen this first, I thought, like, when I seen the trailer for it, before I caught it back when it came out 6 years ago, that like I was like, oh, this is gonna be like what you said. It's gonna be light. It's gonna be the silly film about this woman that's linked to a fucking kaiju somehow. And then all of a sudden it gets really, really dark, and she's like trying to figure out how to stop killing people. And then
and she has that moment where she realizes she's killed hundreds, like just hundreds,
and she falls over.
Yeah, and oh god, there's a lot going on. I'm surprised that I don't know. Like, how did this do? You're the guy who knows this. Did it make a bit of money?
I doubt it. I'll check.
I knew it wasn't like
a colossal success.
Yeah, box office 4.5 million off a budget of 15. So it's
did you type quicker than me there?
No, I had the IMDb in case I don't know why the IMDb. You had like Anne Hathaway and Jason Sudeikis. It's not like
who wrote it though? Who wrote it?
Director Nacho Vilgana, cinematographer, but distributor. But I don't see that.
It's not on IMDb. It's not there.
I'm not in IMDb. I'm on Google, but you know.
This fucking guy. I thought you said you
were. Well, yeah. Sorry, I'm on the Google for the cast. Boo. Yeah, actually, it was.
I know Nacho Vigalondo as well. Vigalondo.
So he wrote it as well as directed it.
Yeah, because like to me, actually, like I was really half expecting there to see a Korean name, because like I've seen a lot of Korean movies in the past like 10-15 years, mostly in past 10 years, I'd say, where I've been dipping into Korean cinema a lot more, because before that was more Japanese cinema, like everybody, where everyone starts with J-horror and then you kind of spread out into other elements of Japanese cinema, and then you kind of end up going into Korean cinema usually then. But like to me, it felt like a Korean movie all over. The style, the kind of weird dark humor, the offbeat nature of the story reminded me of something like The Host or something like that, where it's just that like there is all these dark elements, but everyone's kind of like laughing at it at times, and it makes you laugh when it's shutting, and it's kind of like it's really, really serious, but also really off the wall at the same time.
Yeah.
And the fact as well that the monsters themselves, the kaiju and the robot, end up showing up in Seoul, that I think that the writer or director, that I don't know what his influences were, but I think this guy might be a big fan of Korean cinema, because for me, and like it really felt like a Korean movie at times, just the way it was shot and the way the tone of it was. And like I was actually surprised when I checked the name. I was full sure it was going to be like a Korean dude or a Korean lady.
Yeah. But that's it. You never, when you're watching a Quentin Tarantino film, you feel like you're getting a bit of a bird's eye view into his childhood with the music that he chooses, and sometimes the clothes that he makes his characters wear. Yeah, like it does bring, and maybe you're right. Maybe maybe you are getting a little bit of a view into what it was like for Nacho Vigalondo when he was growing up, even though he's a kid from Spain.
Yeah, he's from Spain, is he?
He's from Spain. Yeah, I just checked it there. So yeah, you never know, like what he was growing up, it could even be one particular film, but that's what a good director is. There's a little, it's a little bit of them. It's a film that only they could possibly have made.
Yeah.
And even though it wasn't a commercial success, I think I'd be very proud if I made a film like that.
Yeah, I don't think this one's going to ever be a commercial success in the box office, because most people, when they're going to hear about giant monster, giant robot, they're going to expect to be seeing like Godzilla or like fucking King Kong or Pacific Rim or Transformers, where like there's going to be this like epic action left, right, and center. And most of the action sequences are actually played out from the human point of view, in a park. And I just thought it was like, I think there might be a lot of misconceptions about this movie before people went to see it. Maybe the word of mouth might have doomed it a bit, because you probably had a lot of people going to see it and thinking it was going to be one
Rom-com,
day,
literally a rom-com, and it's not.
yeah, or an action monster movie, and it wasn't. You know what I mean?
Because the two male suitors are both kind of dickheads.
Yeah, complete dickheads.
You know what I mean? Like that doesn't end with her kind of, I don't know, it doesn't all right itself at the end. There's been an awful lot of destruction, an awful lot of death. Yeah, and you know, one of the main characters is killed off, and he was kind of a tortured character. And even though you know he was clearly kind of becoming a monster, but he was clearly very unhappy. She even confronts him with, "I think you hate yourself."
Yeah.
And God, this was, I was actually just sitting there going, well done, trailer, because you know these trailers, they kind of like, well, you know, the running gag is like, I don't feel like I need to watch the film now.
Yeah,
they put everything in the trailer, like, you know, the start, middle, and ending, and all the big, explosive, and most expensive scenes, and you're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I feel like I just watched that film. Well, that is definitely not the case with this one.
Yeah,
he went a different way.
Oh, I keep thinking about how fucking warm it is, man.
Oh my God, I'm melting. We're Irish, man. We're not built for this.
Jesus Christ, man.
I had to turn off the fan, you know, because obviously for the recording, and I'm just like sitting here going, oh my God, nothing has ever been this warm before.
Yeah, man.
I would have even rescheduled only like tomorrow, you know, tomorrow, the day after. It's just going to keep getting warmer. So.
Yeah, man. I sort of I'm like, close my window in here. My room just like, like fucking see my TV melting. But like yeah, so like I just think it might be caught in that weird no man's land where a large majority of people thought it was one thing, and another large majority of the people from whatever the other demographic, because like you're either going to get the rom-com demographic or you're going to get the action movie monster demographic. And I think the major demographics that probably went to see it initially were both disappointed by thinking it was going to be something else, and not understanding that the film it is actually very, very intelligent. It's very different, and it's like well, a lot of people probably got mixed up, and that's why I think the success of it might have been like, or the lack of success might have been probably because of word of mouth. You might have seen a lot of people that drifted towards initially thinking it was something different than what it was.
Yeah, you can imagine. So it was any good. Like me and the boyfriend were thinking of going to see, and I was like, I'm not sure it's really a coupley film, despite like, you know, the premise. Yeah. Because she gave up an asshole for a psycho.
Yeah.
But this is, you know, well, I don't know. If I was sitting there, I'd be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Oh
you know
man,
what I mean?
was.
It could have a cult following in years to come. It could just be one of those films that will drop on Netflix or something, and people will be like, it's actually not a bad film, because it's really, really not. By any metric, it's not a bad film.
Yeah, I think like a film that has no fanfare coming up, I think you need to go into it with a blank slate. Like there's so many movies that I put people onto that they never would have watched or they never heard of, or like they thought, like other people said it wasn't great or whatever. And I said to him, just go into it with no expectations, blank slate, and just enjoy it for what it is. Don't try to put preconceived notions onto a movie. Like, because when you go into like an MCU movie, I think like, you know, it's the victim of its own success. You can create these preconceived notions because of what happens before in other movies and all that kind of shit. And TV series as well, that some people can be disappointed. But if you have something like Colossal, and if anyone wants to go in with preconceived notions of this kind of movie that has no first movie, it's completely original, it got no real comparisons, and to be able to say that it's disappointing is insane to me, because like it gives you all like the tropes, the girl returning home meets the blue collar working hero, all this kind of shit.
Fresh start, man. That's the trope of 10 old tropes.
Yeah, exactly. Start, and at the same time, it throws his fingers up at the old tropes. And that's what I love about films where, like, we talked about Cabin in the Woods recently, where they played with all the tropes and they gave you all the tropes you wanted, but at the same time, they were saying fuck you to the tropes.
Oh, hugely.
You know what I mean? So you get like fan service on both ends, because that's what I think Colossal did in a lot of ways. It gave you all these tropes and rom-coms and kaiju movies and major monster creature features, and at the same time they were saying these tropes are kind of fucking dumb, and we're going to give you a more real world example of how these tropes would play out in reality. If a monster existed, this is probably what would happen.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It'd be linked to this girl that's super destructive. She hasn't got her life like her life together, and it's just like all over the place.
There's some white American lady behind this. I know it's strange. I know it's strange. It just has white woman written all over it. You know,
you can imagine superheroes in real life. It end up just being some fucking dude that hasn't got his life together, and he's just like killing people by accident because he sneezed.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? He's a klutz. He falls over himself and he has hay fever, and then he ends up sneezing and fucking laser vision someone in half. Like,
exactly.
I just think it just shows you how messy people are, and if these things existed and if they were linked to us, they'd be equally messy or like on way bigger scale. And that's what I love about Colossal. It just kind of shows you how incredibly fucking inept people are at best of times. And then when we're given great power, we often like fucking use that in the wrong ways because we're messes and we don't know how to project that, or we're just constantly projecting that out into the world how much of a mess we are. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I think that's what Colossal is. It's kind of like the way people project their fucking destructive nature into the world, and this time when they project it out to turn into a giant kaiju and a robot.
I think if you go and watch this film with a critical eye, it suits it. I think if you went in and you were like, it was a long week, popcorn, soda,
robot smash.
Yeah, robot smash, absolutely. I think he was sitting there going, the fuck am I watching?
Yeah,
so I do think that sometimes actually it's one of these films actually benefits from a critical eye.
Yeah.
And that's a rare enough thing, but I think it does. Like, I think there's a lot to, if you went there and you didn't want, and there's nothing wrong with that, man. I love me a bit of popcorn fare.
Yeah.
Just why not? You know,
of course.
Just shut off. And this isn't that. And it kind of sold itself as if it was. And maybe that's I know it's kind of tying into what we've already said, but if you were sitting there kind of going, wow, the complexities of people is really on display here.
Yeah,
you know, the messiness of life and the
destructive natures of relationships.
The cracks in our veneers that we all kind of have, you know.
Yeah.
And I think then you're just kind of like, well, okay, there's a bit to unpack here, and that's not what I came here to get dumber. I didn't come here to get smarter, kind of thing.
I know.
Sometimes that is what you need.
That's why I said I throw it in with the Kaijuly, because we did Pacific Rim 1 and 2, and then we did Monster Hunter, which is pure brain dead fare. And I was just like, fuck it, let's go a bit different this week. And I threw Colossal to you.
And different is accomplished.
Yeah, because like I honestly can say there's no other kaiju movies out there like this, and I think it's very rare that you see a kaiju movie that I know most kaiju movies have their history in Japan, commenting on nuclear weapons and shit like that, and that's where the whole Godzilla and stuff like that comes from. But like, I just think that to see the kind of the humanity portrayed and conveyed through monstrosities in Colossal is one of its major strengths, and it's not something you kind of see a lot in kaiju movies, and that's what I love about this movie. And
that's how I tell it, man. I would tell people first and foremost, you haven't seen this movie before.
Yeah, especially if they haven't seen it, because that's just accurate.
Yeah, exactly. then, have you seen it? No, well, then you haven't seen this movie before.
It's like you just got lawyered.
Exactly. Yeah. Before we get the fuck out of here, like, do you think you'd recommend this to a friend, wouldn't you? I think I wish more people would have seen it. Kind of film I feel like I'm going to be talking about to people about now. I'm going to go, do you ever actually see Colossal? No, fuck's sake.
Yeah, like, I honestly think it's one of those kind of sleeper movies that not enough people have seen, and more people should see, because it is very, very different, and it does like play with a lot of tropes from rom-coms and creature features. Not a lot of movies do that, and I think it was very successful in what it was trying to do, and just not enough people seeing it. And that's the problem with this movie, that like it's fucking really good and it's really weird and it hangs in several different kind of genres at one time. And I think it hasn't found its audience to a wider effect yet. And maybe it'll become, as you said earlier on, a cult classic in the years to come on DVD or Blu-ray, or maybe a streaming service will pick it up and it'll just fucking shoot to the top of their fucking top 10 list or something.
Yeah.
And get a whole new audience that way.
That's it. And we do see that. We see quite a lot of that now.
Yeah, constantly days, like. Yeah, so like before we get the fuck out of here, Noel, have you got anything else to say about Colossal?
No, I really enjoyed it, man. It fits perfectly with the Kaijuly, and this is definitely going to be the most, I suspect, the most original concept that this month is going to bring. And man, I hope I'm wrong, because I'm completely open to it. But that
Monster Hunter was kind of different as well.
Exactly, Monster Hunter was very different, but this one was, I don't know, this one was definitely more intricate, and there was a lot more overlapping parts, and the Venn diagram between normal life and something completely supernatural and all that kind of jazz.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like that, as you said earlier, is like I think this is the kind of film that only gets better with the more you dissect it, because you actually see how intelligent and how many moving parts were kind of wrapped up in all these classic tropes. But like, so I'm your host, Vincent Green.
I'm your host, Olson Tui.
And this is Dark Side of the Moon. That was Colossal. And this is Kaijuly. We wrap it up next week, I think. I'm not sure how many Mondays are in this month, but we'll be doing it to the end of this month, people. Check us out. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on iTunes. Come on over and check us out on Facebook too.
We're inside your head.
At MDK Productions 2020, I think. We're really bad at this. We're trying to get better. See you next time, motherfuckers.
Right. Peace.
Peace.
I'm a god, you're a madman. This is the word of Darkseid.